Hello, this is Solis, the florist here in Vancouver, BC. And today I'm going to share with you the way I put my flowers together in a vase. This is one of the most common arrangement that I do in my flower shop here in BC, here in Vancouver. And today, for the first time, I'm going to share with you how I actually put my flowers one by one in a container such as this. First of all, I'm using a cylinder glass vase today, about 6 by 6, about 6 inches tall and about 6 inches across. And the very first thing that I need to emphasize when I'm making a flower arrangement is making sure that the vase is clean and dry. The reason for that is because if it is not dry and it's not clean, the tape, the florist tape that I use to make a grid in order for the flowers to stay in place will not stick properly. So that's the first step that I always do, making sure that the vase is clean and dry. And I'm going to put my grid this way. So let me show you this. So 2 in that direction, and then another 2 strips across, forming a double cross on top. And when you have that, that is not enough because you have to make sure that it's firm and secure. So in order to make that, I put another strip around the top to hold the 4 pieces together. And once you did that, you can be assured that that's nice and taut and secure. Now you're ready to arrange your flowers. First step is to put some tepid water, not too cold, not too hot either. So it's just in between. And make sure that it is also fresh water. We'll add a little bit more to it. That. And then off we go. This is the first flower that I always use when I'm making a flower arrangement. When it's this design, nice and compact, my very first flower, my base flower, is always a hydrangea. In the summertime, when we have local hydrangeas here in BC, I use local hydrangeas, but because it's now almost the end of November, I'm using these hydrangeas that were grown in Ecuador. So these are imports. So the first step is to make sure that you cut your hydrangeas in an angle, just like I did there. And when I put it on top of the vase, the head of the hydrangea is just sitting on top. Not too short, not too long either, because if it is long, it will be wobbly here and there. So I make sure that it's just sitting correctly on top of the vase. Since this is a 6-inch container, it has a wider top, so I feel that I need to use a second head of hydrangea. So I will cut another one, this. Making sure that the hydrangea is nice and clean. If there's any bruised and damaged petal, I pluck it out, I edit it so that your arrangement looks nice and clean as well. So I'll find an angle that will support the first hydrangea that I put there. So now it is partly covering the top of the vase and partly covering the mechanics, the tape that I put on the first stage of the arranging. The next flower that I want to use in here are these flowers from, I believe these are from Africa. These are called pincushion proteas. They are long-lasting flowers and they have that very interesting shape and form, and because they look like pins poked on a cushion, so they're aptly called pincushion Proteas. So after cutting it in an angle like that, going to insert it amongst my hydrangeas, making sure that it's not carrying any petal down the water there, because when you do that, sometimes it hits a flower petal and it brings it into the vase right there, and that's not good. So I make sure that that doesn't happen. Wait, another one right there. People ask me all the time if I use odd or even number of flowers in an arrangement. Well, it depends. If my vase is as big as this, sometimes I have to use more than 2. So in this case, I'm going to use 3 so that all the sides of the container is distributed with evenly distributed with the with the Protea. You don't have to. If you have only 2 Proteas, then by all means just use 2. The next flower that I'm going to use are my favorite of all pink roses. These are called Stiletto, and I get them from Ecuador as well. I have a standing order for them, and I get them every week. I've been using them for many years, and the reason I like them is because they are very long lasting. They open beautifully, they're not tight, and they have a lot of petal counts. So that is important to me, that a rose, whenever I use it in my arrangement, that they are not bullet tight, because they always look nicer when they're slightly open. So I'm going to insert that in my arrangement right here, in the middle of the hydrangea. And I'm fond of grouping them. I'm not a fan of like distributing them evenly. I did that with my Protea a while ago, but that's the first flower that I inserted in my hydrangea. The next ones, I like inserting them in a group. So that's my first rose. I'm going to put another one right beside it. So there's 2 in there. But then again, that is too symmetrical for me. So I'm going to use a 3rd one, making sure that there's no leaves that will go underwater there. I'm going to insert the 3rd rose right there. So now there's a grouping of 3 beautiful stiletto roses on that side of my arrangement. And I don't want to repeat that grouping on this side, because again, that will be too symmetrical. An arrangement looks a lot more relaxed when it's not too formal, when it's not too when there's not much symmetry in it. It can be balanced, but it doesn't have to be symmetrical. I'm using another beautiful rose here. This time this is a peach rose. It's called Tiffany. It's another beautiful rose. This time I'm going to put one over here. Remember I told you about grouping, and I'm going to use a second one. Right there. I use 3 of the stiletto roses on this side here, but for Tiffany I'm going to use just 2 to give it a little bit of a contrast. Okay, and then we have this beautiful spray roses here. They are very similar to the color of the Tiffany, only they are a smaller and branch version. And because they're spray roses, I still need to make sure that every single bloom is nice and edited, nice and clean. So I remove all the petals that are kind of bruised and older. They look older. If you don't pluck them, they show in your arrangement. So I remove it. So nice and clean, just like that. And I also edit some of the leaves because I don't want too many leaves that are going inside the hydrangeas. You won't see them anyways. So I take them out, I cut it short, and I insert it right there, right in between the groupings of pink roses and the peach roses over here. Okay, now when I see that this is already forming a beautiful structure here on top of the vase, I try to imagine how it will look with another flower. And in this case, I'm going to use a locally grown product called Helleborus. These are locally grown, and they're usually available even in the winter time. So I love using them. They're sometimes called Lenten rose or Christmas rose. And they are green, but still they have that beautiful, beautiful floret on their stem, and there are multiples. There's sometimes 4, sometimes 5. I'm going to treat that as a flower on top of my arrangement right here. So it looks like that, and you see the green is such a great color to break the monotony of pinks on top there. And then I have this beautiful stem of Cymbidium orchids. It's winter time. It's very difficult to get locally grown flowers here. So again, this is an import from New Zealand. And because they're imports, they're quite pricey. So how do we use them? In an arrangement like this, a stem of hydrangea like this, if you use the whole thing, it's going to add up to your cost. So what I do is I use the individual blooms. So I pluck the bloom like this, and I use that in my arrangement. How? By using a water tube. By using a water tube, so that water tube is already filled with water, and with the help of a barbecue skewer, I attach that to the water tube with a tape like this. This is my technique in stemming, prolonging the stem of the water tube. So as you can see, it has that pointy end because it's a barbecue skewer, but it's a very useful tool for me whenever I use an orchid. I recut the stem on an angle again, insert it in my water tube, making sure that you insert it to the very neck of the Cymbidium orchid like that, and then just insert it in the arrangement. And because it is inserted in between the hydrangea, you don't see the mechanic, you don't see the water tube, you only see part of the barbecue skewer at the bottom of your vase. If you find that that is too little, use another bloom of the hydrangea. So I plucked another one, make sure that it's nice and clean, no bruising. Get another barbecue skewer, attach the water tube to it with your tape, making sure that it's nice and secure so that it's nicely inserted inside your hydrangea. And then I insert, oh, I need to cut the stem again so that it has that angled cut. Once you have that practice of cutting your flower at an angle, it becomes automatic. It becomes automatic. Anything that you pick from a grouping of your material, you always make sure that you cut it in an angle. Even if you're not minding it, it just comes automatically. You just cut it in an angle. So I have that, and if you find that the skewer is a little too long, you can cut it shorter. And again, I'm going to put it right beside my first Cymbidium there, and it looks beautiful like that. Now, as you can notice, it's a bit too blush, it's a bit too pink. So I'm going to break it again with a color that is unexpected. I featured this on my Instagram post at one time. These are locally grown calla lilies, and they seem to be black, but actually They are dark burgundy. They're purplish burgundy. So if you take a look at it closer, it looks like that. It's so dark that it looks beautiful when you use it with your pink hydrangeas. So let me try using this, and you'll see the kind of effect it creates when you insert it among your flowers. I'll put one here and then another one right beside it, so it looked like that. But then that's a black spot that you see right away if you don't put another one on this side, so that it doesn't look like it's just a random spot. I will use another couple on this side where the light colored cymbidiums are, and in a minute I'm going to show you how it looks. So it looks like that. So we're almost done. I guess what I would like to do now is just put some complementary flowers around the edges here, because I still could see some mechanics of my tape that I put earlier. So I'm going to use another locally grown product here called Skimmia. These are beautiful flowers that are on a stem with this very glossy green leaves, and they're just a beautiful product here, and they last for a long time too. So I will cut a small piece like that and then just insert it right there. Not too much, just a bit of Skimmia here and there, like that. The one right here. And it won't hurt too if unexpectedly you insert one right on top, the one that has a bit of a longer stem, so that it reaches the water below, like that. And I have another stem here. I think I'm just going to use this on one side right here. And my arrangement is now complete. That's how I put my flowers together. Well, I hope you enjoy this, and I hope I could upload some more videos for you to see how I put my flowers together. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and arrange away.